This week on Nonprofit Newsfeed, my name is George Weiner. I'm the chief whaler of Whole Whale. And of course, we have Nick Azulay, digital strategist at Whole Whale. Look, we've had a bit of a little time off. It is August. It's the end of August, but we're coming back into September. We did some interesting interviews. We're doing some interesting first party data work on our nonprofit wellness index. So want to do a quick update there. And of course, I just had the greatest time interviewing basically the godfather of Google Analytics. So I geeked out on that. Nick, how's it going?
It's going great, George. It's great to be back. I'm well rested after some time off and excited to be back on the pod. We do want to dive in at the top, George, with your interview with Avinash Kaushik. And you, George, talk a lot about answer engine optimization, what nonprofits need to be thinking about as we move away from the traditional SEO world into a world dictated by the question and answer LLM interactions that our audiences are now going to be using to find us on the internet. George, Avinash estimated that nonprofits could see traffic plummet between 16 and 64%, and paid search traffic decrease between 5 and 30%, totally interrupting how donors, volunteers, and the public engage with our various cause spaces. So, George, you two dove into a conversation about how nonprofits can focus on content that features novelty, depth, authentic human stories, right? Trying to find your niche, carve out what makes you exceptional and unique within the space, and delivering value, quite frankly, that these LLMs will be able to detect. You also talk about things like the AI brand footprint, understanding how your brand is being represented in LLMs, and the need for multimodal content production that's combining text, video, and audio, etc. type sources. So, George, you had a wide ranging conversation. We really recommend you can check it out on Spotify, on YouTube, in the newsletter, to many places. George, what were your key takeaways from your conversation?
Honestly, in the sort of landscape of changing advisors and advice and rules, this is the person who was in the room with the founding of Google Analytics. This is something that in large part we are, very much built around, baked around for Whole Whale. He pays attention to the data. And so as he's watching it, I take what he says very seriously. I think in that 1 hour, he delivers about $100,000 of consulting value, essentially made it mandatory for everyone at Whole Whale to listen to it. I have personally listened to it 2 extra times. So if you don't understand something, go back, go over it, because there are so many gems in there as he talks about answer engine optimization and how to sort of make your content AI resistant. Right now, I can't shake the thought that there are so many organizations with bring your own AI to work, where you're using ChatGPT out of the box to generate some sort of article. That article is useless because it was just generated by AI. And that means AI can generate that answer, that solution for whoever's looking for it without mentioning you. You don't exist. You're simply regurgitating what AI gave you if you're using these things out of the box without these types of strategies. So my hope is that as you go through your content calendar planning for 2026 and frankly tomorrow, you pause and be like, if we do what we've always done, we are done for. And I think that just sort of resonates with me in terms of what he's saying with regard to AI resistant content. But the upside, it wasn't all doom and gloom. The upside is that what he is seeing in his data, and he notes this, is that the value of inbound traffic from places like ChatGPT, from Perplexity, from the AI overviews and Gemini and Google is very valuable. It is sort of like pre-filtered, ready to buy, ready to transact, more engaged traffic. So, we go into how to measure and track that. So I can't recommend it enough. We're doing it for all of our clients. We're setting up the AI channel tracking inbound inside of Google Analytics to understand what's going on. He also suggested some things about tools like Tracker AI and Evertune, ultimately, that are sort of doing a small little snapshot of prompt response. So you give a prompt being like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all, / who's the best environmental organization. And then it comes back and you're like, okay, were we mentioned or not? It's rather brute forcey and rudimentary. I don't love where it is, but that's the best we have. And so it is worth exploring at least in that context of like, what is the most common prompt I think might lead or should lead to somebody discovering my organization.
Yeah, George. And that all checks out with what we've talked about previously on the podcast, such as the data from Pew Research, which talks about the question based queries leading to the highest conversion rates and traffic. And I think the main takeaway, George, is that you want to make content that is novel, interesting, unique, and authentic. And how do you do that? You can start with an AI draft, George, but that's where that first, not final comes in, that human in the loop, right? The AI enables you, if you're writing with it, to get a good first draft in which you can then place in the super interesting quotes, right? So quote yourself and link back to your bio, right? Make it add real, unique, interesting stats. And we're doing that a whole whale, George. We're producing so many products and news items that we're trying to essentially market our expertise to these LLMs. Your organization should be taking a similar approach. So many good tidbits in here, George. Highly recommend listening
I almost
for
like
our
I
listeners.
feel like we like could have like been like, I'm not going to release this because it's like, you could really build an entire company around it, but that's just not how we roll. And I was excited that he shared so openly on like how he's planning and how he's thinking about it and how frankly we should adapt to it.
Yeah. No, George, you just, everyone listening, that was 100K in value
100K in
in
value.
5 minutes.
Who knows? We may review it and be like, we got to take this down. This is too valuable.
Nope, nope. I know it. All right, George. I want to take us into our summaries. And George, we have a follow up here on one of those products that you particularly have been working to develop here at Whole Whale, and that is the Nonprofit Wellness Index, a measure of nonprofit consumer confidence, if you will. George, we are pulling in metrics such as digital advertising spend, the number of job listings, volunteer listings, and layoff data to create an overall snapshot month to month of the nonprofit sector's growth and health. George, we have the numbers in for July, and we have to caveat that we only have these numbers in relationship to the previous months, right? This is only our third month doing this, but July did see a bit of a decrease compared to the other months in terms of the activity that we track. This, George, may be an indication of a little bit of a slowdown in the industry. It also could very well just be a cyclical expected seasonal trend where there's a little bit of a decrease in activity in the summer. But this is something we're keeping an eye on. And we think that if you are someone who wants to stay in tune with macro trends in the sector, this is a good thing to watch.
Yeah, but we also saw like the overall labor market soften in July in those stats and the numbers that came out. We actually saw it in our, a little small micro index first. We're like, these numbers seem terrible. And as you mentioned, yes, it is in context of our total data set, which only runs back to, halfway through April. But as it grows, this is going to become better and sharper. It is also just objectively just looking at and showing us that like it is a combination of the overall nonprofit job market. So, what is the overall net of all of the jobs posted for nonprofits, as far as we can tell, across Idealist, across LinkedIn, across Glassdoor as well? And then also some volunteer, like, are there more or less volunteer opportunities out there weighted? And then ads. Frankly, we can find those in real time, essentially, on Meta ads library, and we can weight all of those things as, are you spending on advertising or are you not? So I fully anticipate these numbers to start increasing again, but as we go forward, we're really going to get more and more holistic view. But July was bad. We had a sort of weak rating on that. It was our lowest recorded monthly score so far of those combined metrics, which tells you something. Because I can also say like the feels like temperature out there. When you go outside and you're like, I know what the number says in the old thermometer, but wind's blowing. It's cold out there. I'd say that has been also a sentiment we have seen a bit through and out our clients, and also as I talk to other agencies right now.
Yeah, George, I think that's a good point, right? We have a pulse on the vibe. I will say, unlike the great folks at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we're not going to get fired if we give bad numbers to you all. So stay tuned for authentic measurement here, unfiltered. Oh, God. All right, George, I've been away too long. I got too many zingers.
My gosh, yeah, you're sitting on.
All right. We have another industry update. This comes from reporting in the New York Times. And George, this is pretty insider baseball, particularly in the philanthropy space.
Yeah.
But we wanted to talk about The Gates Foundation has announced that it's cutting ties, not announced, I think done it pretty quietly. Gates Foundation has cut ties with the philanthropic firm Arabella Advisors amid political pressure. So, what does this mean? So the Gates Foundation ended new grants to Arabella managed funds after years of major support, saying it wants to work more directly with grassroots partners and reduce reliance on intermediaries. Okay, but George, the between the lines is that Arabella Advisors had become a conservative target for its role primarily in channeling money to progressive causes. It's a major player in the progressive advocacy and cause space. And a lot of observers think that the Gates move is seen as a business shift and a way to potentially insulate themselves from attacks from the Trump administration. The overall takeaway from the article is that the decision has unsettled progressive philanthropy broadly. Nonprofits are worried about losing millions. I think a lot of organizations are involved with Arabella's fiscal sponsorship model and are thinking about exit strategies there. So, George, this is, again, very insider baseball, but I think kind of telling that there's a lot of risk aversion right now in kind of upper tier philanthropy that might be moving away from progressive causes right now.
Don't know what to think about this. The timing is interesting, but also keep in mind that like Gates Foundation, as we've talked about in the past, has made this 20-year commitment to winding down the foundation. So it's not going to exist in 20 years. In 2045, they're done, right? All of those funds will have been dispersed because he wants to accelerate giving. Part of me is like, oh, maybe that shifts the strategy of output. Maybe you're not looking for long-term sustainability. You're like, we need to deploy now. So maybe part of their strategic advisory was like, how do we set up, foundation forever? But to be honest, if you're giving more money away faster, I think you need that type of validate. Like you need that type of group probably vetting and bringing in and making sure you're structuring these deals in a certain way. And you just, I don't know, not the greatest insight, but very interesting. I think at a high level, this probably mimics a lot of headwinds for consulting in general and consulting. I can say personally now with accurate data, it's been a tough year for any progressive focused agency, digital consulting for progressive organizations because of the volume of cuts, the volume of pressure and intensity that is going on. Yeah, without a doubt, this has been one of our toughest years on record. We've been around since 2012, so we have sizable data.
Yeah, we got
Look
some
back
years
on,
under our belt.
and so I think maybe this is just part of the
Yeah. George, no, I think your analysis is correct. And we'll continue to keep an eye on developments at the kind of the upper tier philanthropic level. All right. All that said, I think it's time for a feel good, George. This one comes from the Miami Times, and it's about an organization called Health in the Hood, which tackles food insecurity in Miami's underserved communities via urban gardens and large scale food distribution. And they give out, George, 15,000 pounds of food monthly, and they address areas experiencing kind of like food desert areas and where supermarket redlining has left residents without few healthy food options. So, George, I think this has come up a lot, particularly in the New York City mayoral primary, where government supermarkets has been kind of a lightning rod for political debate. But I think the truth of the matter is that particularly in cities and rural areas, not all communities are served by reliable, healthy food sources. So cool to see an organization stepping up.
I love anything that involves urban gardening. I just dropped off a pumpkin plant for my daughter's school for their community garden. I am a big believer in it. 15,000 pounds monthly is probably not coming out of just those community gardens. There's a lot that last mile food waste organizations do in order to make sure food gets to where it's needed most. And another group out there that I personally support is Move for Hunger, and I can't tell you how valuable that type of thing is. It's like the food is there, it's just not where it needs to be. And it's talk to my friend Adam all the time about how frustrated he gets with how much more could be done because we have enough food. Unfortunately, it's not where it needs to be, as you mentioned with these food deserts.
Yeah, exactly. All right, George, do I have a joke for you?
You seem pretty excited about it.
I'm pretty excited because I came up with it myself.
Hmm.
which is either good or bad. But here we go. George, why does the nonprofit coffee shop provide free coffee every morning?
I don't know. Why?
It really grounds their work in the community.
Coffee grounds.
Get it? Get it?
I do. I do. Gets people going.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
It's,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like you've
Guess,
gone.
yeah.
You're beginning to get the essence of cringeworthy dad joke creation.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
I
only
think
taken me 4 years.
your job is safe from AI for now. I don't know.
All
All right, Nick. Thanks.
right. Thanks, George.